Hello and welcome to another episode of My Backstage Pass. This is your host, Lee Zimmerman, and I'm here with my producer, co-host, and good buddy, Billy Hubbard. And today we're very excited to have the great Warren Haynes as our guest. Hi, Warren. How are you?
Good. Doing good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing all right.
Great.
We're doing okay. We're trying hard to keep up with you. You've got a lot going on there, as you usually do, Warren. You have a new solo album coming out. I guess you just got off the road on your Million Voices Whisper tour. And you have a big benefit coming up at Madison Square Garden. So really want to try to cover it all here. Like I said, we're trying to keep up with you, buddy. You're a busy man.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep up with me too.
Good for you. Good for you. Let's start out by talking about the new solo album, Million Voices Whisper. I'm kind of curious where that name come from. Is there some sort of meaning behind that title?
The title came from the chorus to the song "Day of Reckoning," which I recorded with Jamie Johnson and Lucas Nelson singing along with me.
Mm-hmm.
Lucas co-wrote the song and also played some great guitar on it. The chorus of the song is "Million voices whisper, getting louder when we sing, million spirits waiting on a day of reckoning." So I took "Million Voices Whisper" as a snippet of that and use it as the title, which I think is kind of appropriate for the whole spirit of the record.
When a million voices whisper, it's not really a whisper anymore, is it? I mean, it's a million voices would make a kind of a loud noise, I would think. To me, it sort of symbolizes a certain unity and speaking up. Do I have that right?
Yeah. Using your voice in a peaceful way to make change by bringing as many people to the party as possible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And, I think that idea of unity and joining together is especially appropriate now. So that's a good theme that you have there. So this album comes out, it comes out November 1st. By the time you hear this podcast, the album will be out, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. And this is your fourth solo album, I believe. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, my fourth solo album in over 30 years, but
Okay.
obviously I've been busy doing other things.
Lots.
But I only really make a solo record when I feel like I've written a bunch of songs that aren't necessarily Allman Brothers songs or Gov't Mule songs.
Right.
This is going back, 30 years. But that if I've written a bunch of songs and they seem to work together and have some sort of common thread and feel like they're ready to be recorded, then I take that as an indication that it's time to do a solo record.
Well, I was going to ask you again. You're such a prolific individual. You work with the Allmans, Gov't Mule. I was going to ask you how you kind of decide if it's going to be solo, if you're going to contribute the songs to the Allmans, to Gov't Mule. I mean, what's the divide there, so to speak?
Well, it's nice if there is a project on the horizon that we're writing for, so to speak. If they're back in the old days, the Allman Brothers stopped playing in 2014,
Mm-hmm.
and our last record was hitting the note was several years before that. But I wrote 25 songs for the Allman Brothers through the years, and usually if there was an album scheduled to be made, then I would try to focus on that. And the same with the Gov't Mule record. But more often than not, I'm writing songs, in between records. And so I just kind of write for the sake of the song and then try to decide later if it belongs in one camp over another.
I got you. I would imagine your colleagues might come up and say, "Hey, Warren, we want that song. How about giving it to us?" There-
So,
it's
a perfect example of that is my song Soul Shine, that
yeah,
I knew Greg Allman had heard the song and liked it, but he had never mentioned it to me as an Allman Brothers song until we were actually in the studio recording, and we had kind of gotten ahead of schedule, which is miraculous in itself. We had recorded every song we were slated to do, and we still had a day of studio time left over. And Tom Dowd, the legendary producer,
oh yeah,
said, "Hey, any other songs anybody's got that we should record?" And Greg said, "Hey man, let's do your song Soul Shine." I was like, "Cool, let's do that." I never knew until that moment that he thought of it as an Allman Brothers song. But of course, once I heard him sing it, it made total sense.
wow. Well, you bring up the name Tom Dowd. I was fortunate enough to know him personally, and what an amazing man he was. What a thrill it must have been to work with him.
Yeah, I did. I think 5 studio records and 2 or 3 live records with Tom, and just learned so much from him and loved him dearly. He was one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, I agree with you. I know, Billy, some of our listeners had a few questions they wanted to ask. So, Billy, you want to?
Yeah, we'll throw one out here. Yeah, one of our listeners, Daryl Monday, he was asking, of course, you played a long time with some great people. He's wanting to know who is one person maybe you have wanted to perform with that you haven't had the chance to yet.
Bucket list.
That's a tough one. I've been so fortunate to have played in one capacity or another with so many people that I grew up listening to. The list of people I haven't worked with that I would love to is much shorter, but obviously people like Paul McCartney,
Oh yeah,
Jimmy Page, Neil Young. I've been around some of these folks, but never wound up playing together. Mark Knopfler is another one that I love that I've never worked with, but those things usually come about organically, just being in the right place at the right time. And it's not something that I've ever kind of pursued or tried to force. It's just, it happens if it's supposed to happen,
Yeah. Well, you have some great people on this album, Derek Trucks and Lucas Nelson and Jamie Johnson. So you're definitely in the right crowd there, Mr. Haynes. You're in the right circles, I would say. Yeah.
Well, I've been lucky to be in good circles since, I guess, somewhere in the mid-'80s. Dickie Betts is the one that brought me into the Allman Brothers. And I was in his band for 2 or 3 years while the Allman Brothers were broken up. And then in '89, when they decided to reform, I got a call saying, "We want you to join." And of course, that was an amazing opportunity and opened every door imaginable.
I would think, in a way, though, it might be a bit intimidating when you step into a band that has such a legacy and, Dwayne Allman's signature style. Did it feel intimidating at the time?
Yeah, it was intimidating for sure, but not nearly as much as it would have been had I not worked with Dickie for those 2 or 3 years prior.
I gotcha. Right.
We did small clubs and theaters and stuff. I worked on his last solo record that he made before the Allman Brothers reformed. And that 2 or 3 year period allowed me to get a little more comfortable with the whole concept. And of course, he and I had honed our whole guitar relationship in amazingly well by the time '89 rolled around.
Gotcha.
Whereas someone like Alan Woody, the bass player in the Allman Brothers, who also went on to be the bass player in Gov't Mule, Woody just auditioned, and the next day he was in the Allman Brothers, and that had to be amazingly intimidating.
I would think so. You got another question there?
Girl named Becky Grace, she was asking who you get excited about in today's music, up and coming artists, and who are you listening to personally?
Of today's music?
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool music on the horizon these days. I hope I can think of some great examples. I know my friend Dwayne Betts, who is Dickie Betts' son, has a great record out.
Oh yeah.
You know, I really enjoy Marcus King and
That's right, another good one.
Larkin Poe.
Oh yeah.
Kingfish. There's a lot of cool stuff out there these days, and I feel like we've turned the corner. You know, there was about a 10-year period or something where most of the new music wasn't really doing it for me, and we're starting to get some cool stuff again. So that's good.
Good question,
yeah.
Becky. I know Becky.
Yeah.
She's a terrific question.
Oh yeah. Well, while we're on a roll, let me ask you another one here. He's an artist. Actually, I think he's from North Carolina. Shane Mead's his name. Anyway, we kind of talked about this before we started recording, but about this year's Christmas Jam in Asheville being canceled. He was asking if there was any other special or related events taking place until that returns next year. But of course, you could tell us about the fundraiser at Madison Square Gardens, but I think he was also asking about North Carolina. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
You know, Christmas Jam is usually the second week of December. And this year that was not going to be possible due to the flooding and all the hurricane devastation in Asheville. And so as soon as we realized that we weren't going to be able to do the Christmas Jam, I got in touch with the Dave Matthews Camp just to kind of reach out and see what people were thinking about doing some sort of hurricane relief and benefit shows. And as it turns out, a lot of the people in the Dave Matthews crew have ties to the Sarasota, Florida area. And of course, I have a lot of friends there as well, but my family's in Western North Carolina, which got devastated.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
So we started working on a benefit concert that's going to be at Madison Square Garden in New York on November 24th. And coincidentally, we were just talking about the song Soul Shine. They came up with the idea of calling the benefit Soul Shine. So it's called Soul Shine, a benefit for hurricane relief and recovery. And it's the Dave Matthews Band, Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats, Warren Haynes Band, Goose, and special guests Trey Anastasio, Mavis Staples, Robert Randolph, Joe Russo, Trombone Shorty, Susan Tedeschi, and Derek Trucks.
Wow.
And that announcement just came out, and of course the show is right around the corner, but the whole objective is to raise as much money for the cause as possible. I would love to do this show in North Carolina, but I think we can raise a lot more money doing it this way. We got a lot of sponsors coming on board. We're hoping to stream or pay-per-view it. It's going to be a wonderful benefit, and so I'm glad somebody asked that question, and I'm looking forward to bringing Christmas Jam back to Asheville next year.
Oh man, that's great you guys are doing that. And of course, we just live right over the mountain from North Carolina here, so we have a lot of friends over there ourselves. Well, we're talking about that. I was going to ask. I remember hearing, it's been a while since I heard it. You're a guitar teacher. I guess you were, of course, from Asheville. Is he from over there? Is he okay, or is he still there?
Yeah, everybody's okay. You know, all my family is still there. Most of them had to relocate due to no water, no power, no phone service. And my mom only went back about 10 days ago. And, you know, most people that have water now, you can't drink it. Some people still don't have cell service. Some people's cell service goes in and out. My brother's record store, which was in the River Arch District in Asheville.
Oh, yeah.
That area got completely wiped out. His store was partially underwater, but it looks like they're going to salvage it and rebuild, which is great. But thankfully, they're all safe and their houses are all intact. But Western North Carolina just got devastated, and you know, we're going to do as much as possible to raise as much money as possible. But it's just going to be a drop in the bucket. It's going to be years of trying to rebuild, you know?
Man, yeah. And a lot of those folks didn't have flood insurance, I'm sure.
Yeah, no. Who would think?
So you would never think that this could happen in that part of the world, the hurricane could do that kind of damage in a town 6 hours from the coast.
Yeah, exactly.
Man.
So if people are interested in buying tickets and attending, is there a website or something where they can go to check that out?
Yes, soulshinemsg.com.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes too. So link that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, that's a wonderful thing that you're doing. Last week, we had a big benefit in Knoxville to help the victims in East Tennessee and in Western North Carolina. And Larkin Poe, Daryl Scott, some amazing artists were on the bill. So it's wonderful that folks are rallying to the cause and, trying to help. But like you say, Warren, it will take years, to get up to speed with this kind of thing. So we can only hope and pray that, all these efforts help, in a very strong and positive way.
Eric Church and Luke Combs did a stadium show in North Carolina, and Sheryl Crow and a bunch of people were special guests. And I think they raised $24 million, which was fantastic.
Wow.
But, that sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, but it's going to take a lot more than that.
Yeah, obviously.
Gosh, well, I saw it was going to Habitat for Humanity, so that's.
But my hat's off to everybody that's stepping up and volunteering their services. The music community in general has been fantastic about this.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. And, I got to say, you, Warren, you have sort of switching topics here for a minute. You have such an amazing career. You've received so many accolades. You've been a part of so many incredible bands and the work you've done on your own. It set such a high bar. And I ask a lot of artists this question, but when you've achieved such acclaim and you've reached such a high plateau, and then you think about your next project, is it ever daunting at all? Do you ever think, wow, I've got to measure up to this, or there are certain expectations that I've got to measure up to here? Does that ever enter your mind at all? And is it scary? Scary to think about?
I think my own expectations that I put on myself are probably more daunting than what people expect from me, because I think most artists, most musicians in general are their own worst critics, and I'm definitely guilty of that. When I'm listening to my new record, I'm only hearing the parts that bother me. You know what I mean? And it takes, sometimes a year or two to get away from that. Like I might listen to a record 2 years later and be able to enjoy it as if I just went to the store and bought it. But when I'm making it, and shortly after that period of time, I'm just critiquing it and trying to figure out how I can make it record and make it better. And I remember John Lennon saying that he had that same problem, that he just had to make himself at some point stop and say, okay, it's finished, because you can keep trying to make it better. And what you should be doing is writing another song and making another record.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't think you have anything to worry about, Mr. Haynes. You have a very, very wonderful track record here. And I think that we should listen to a song off the new album and get a taste of what folks can expect.
Yeah, I think this is the lead track here. Yeah, This Life As We Know It. Let's give
This Life As We Know It.
Let's give it a spin. Check it out, Bart.
Yeah.
There's a full moon on the the 4th of July, lighting up a Montauk sky, and painting the night like a burning ember. I ain't felt this way in so long, I can't remember. Ain't it good to be alive, and to know that we survived? Came out on the other side a little stronger. Yeah, we're stronger, stronger. I'm gonna sing it to the clouds, sing it soft and sing it loud. I'm gonna make my feelings known, and I'm gonna keep on holding on to this life as we know it. To this life as we know it. To this life as we know it. Change is coming day by day. The life we knew has gone away, but I ain't gonna let it get me down. Gonna embrace this new life that we've found. Breathe it in like the smell of wine. Disregard the flaws in the design. Celebrate and take the time to stay a little longer. Stay a little longer. I'm gonna sing it to the clouds, sing it soft and sing it loud. I'm gonna make my feelings known. I'm gonna keep on holding on to this life as we know it. To this life as we know it. To this life as we know it. Ain't it good to be alive, and to know that we survived? Came out on the other side, yeah, a little stronger. Yeah, we're stronger, stronger. I'm gonna sing it to the clouds, sing it soft and sing it loud. I'm gonna make my feelings known. I'm gonna keep on holding on to this life as we know it. To this life as we know it. To this life as we know it. There's a full moon on the 4th of July, lighting up the Montauk sky, and paling the night like a burning ember. I ain't felt this way in so long, I can't remember.
Wow. Wow.
That's
You know,
great,
Warren,
man.
of course you're known as this exceptional guitar player, but your vocals, man, wow. So expressive.
I was just going to say that it's
Yeah.
hard to find a, well, I mean, used to, and great guitarists and great vocals you don't always have the both talents.
Yeah, exactly. But you got them both locked up here. I mean, the way you express those emotions and that feelings, I mean, it just, yeah, I'm convinced it's a great life. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed too, as one of the bonus tracks on this new album, on the CD version, you do the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young song, "Find the Cost of Freedom." That sounds like it would be a wonderful tie-in to the whole theme and concept of this album in general to do that song.
Yeah, it actually segues into an extended version of Day of Reckoning, the song we were talking about earlier, which has Lucas Nelson and Jamie Johnson and myself singing together. You know, we toured together on the last Waltz tour, and we just all loved the way that our voices blended, with Jamie singing on the bottom, me in the middle, and Lucas on the top. And I wanted to capture that. And so while we were in the studio, we decided to do a little version of Find the Cost of Freedom with the three of us singing a cappella. And it segues into this extended version of Day of Reckoning, which is really beautiful. And I've always loved that tune, and it is very timely and does tie in specifically to that song and to the spirit of this album in general.
Yeah, you know, like we were saying, I think this album really is something that we need right now. It's uplifting and it's unifying, and it's you know, it's a wonderful gift that you've given us here, Mr. Haynes.
Yeah.
Well, thank that. That is. I don't know if that was my intent, so to speak, but it was in the back of my mind. In the whole writing process was, you know, some of these songs go all the way back to the COVID lockdown, and I didn't want to write a bunch of depressing, dark songs that I was going to not want to hear 5 or 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
I'm kind of at this point in my life right now where I think it's up to all of us to make things better. What can we do to make things better? You know?
Yeah, I would agree. You have another question?
Yeah,
there?
well, yeah, sorry. We've only got like a couple, two more, but I want to get this one was, I can't pronounce this girl. She's in Germany, Jetta.
We have international listenership, Billy?
Yeah, we're in like 83 countries or something. Yeah, it's
83. Wow.
World of the internet,
I'm
man.
impressed. Okay.
Anyway, I'm not going to butcher that last name. But anyway, it says, I saw you on tour with David Allen Coe in Germany.
Oh, God.
1980. Wow. 80, or 81, I'm sorry.
81.
What memories do you have of this time touring with DAC?
Well, that's wow, that's a tough question.
I can't remember that far back.
You know, David Allen Coe is quite the controversial character, and and we can leave it at that a little bit. But you know, he gave me my first opportunity as a touring musician to do something outside of Asheville. And although it was a lot to digest, and I learned a lot from the whole experience, both good and bad. But it was through him that I met Dickie Betts and Greg Allman, which would eventually lead to me joining the Allman Brothers. Cool. So, you know, every step along the way has its purpose. And so, you know, that part of my life led to what would eventually be the biggest opportunity I've ever had, you know.
Yeah.
I do remember going to Europe with Coe, and it was the first time I'd ever traveled overseas, and it was quite an experience. But as far as Gump would say, that's all I got to say about that.
Well, when the book comes out, Warren will read all the dirt at that point, I presume. 1981. I mean, that's like 43 years ago. You were but a child. Yeah. You were just a child.
It was my first touring experience and my first experience making records. You know, the good side of that whole thing was that I was thrown into the fire on a touring level and on a recording level 6 months after I joined the band, or less than 6 months after I joined the band. I found myself in the studio making records with all what they call the A-team studio musicians, all the most in-demand session players, and I was brought in to be part of that. And of course, I was a 20-year-old kid that didn't know anything about recording, so it was a trial by fire, but it was a great lesson.
Wow, and what a career you've had ever since. I mean, truly amazing Truly amazing,
Yeah.
Warren Haynes. Truly amazing.
I do have just one more question. I wouldn't
One
even,
more question?
Yeah, I wouldn't ask this one, but if it wasn't my bandmate Bethany Jean Smith,
Okay.
maybe we may have to edit this one out. But I don't know what this means because she's kind of wild and crazy. She said, "Can you ask him how his voice and guitar sound like Sweet Love?"
Wow.
What's that?
Well, I think she wants a date. That's what I think she wants a date. Well, be careful when you go out the backstage door next time.
All right, and what am I looking to avoid?
She's talking about Sweet Love.
And I'm just joking, but thank you very much. You know, let's go back to the previous statement. I've been extremely grateful and fortunate, lucky, I would have to say, to have had the career that I've had and to do what I love for a living. I think the thing that I appreciate maybe the most about my life and my career is that I get to express myself in so many different ways, be part of so many different projects. You know, I love all these different types of music. I play and sing and write all these different types of music. And the fact that I'm able to get away with doing that and not be pigeonholed as a certain type of artist who only does a certain thing is probably one of the things that I admire the most about the opportunity that I had.
Yeah. I think what she was referring to. I remember we saw you at Tennessee Theater in Knoxville one time, and a group of us friends, and we were like, your voice and your guitar it just blends together, and it's in a good way. So
What did she call
Well,
it,
I
Billy?
appreciate that. I think about people like B.B. King and Bonnie Raitt that
Sure.
that their voice and their guitar are coming from the same place, and I've always tried to do that. You know, I try to get my guitar sound to kind of sound like the sound of my voice, and you know, when it all comes down, it's all coming from the same spirit. So, Taylor, thank you very much for that.
makes sense. Yeah.
What did she call it, Billy? She said it sounds like what?
Sweet Love.
Sweet Love. Oh,
Well,
wow.
you know, us guys don't think like that probably, but
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know. I get an image in my head, but I don't know if it's the same image.
yeah. I mean, I love your music, but I wouldn't describe it that way. Quite.
Yeah.
And I'm good with that.
Okay. Wonderful. So,
that's good.
well, it's been an absolute joy to speak to you, Warren, and thank you for all the wonderful music that you've given us over the years. Thank you for this upcoming benefit that you're doing to aid the folks that really need it right now. And, Godspeed, buddy. I mean, when are you going out again? You have another tour in the works here as well?
Yeah, the next thing is going to be Gov't Mule at the end of December. We're doing one night in New Haven, Connecticut on the 28th, and then the 30th and 31st of December at the Beacon Theater in New York City, where we've been doing that for probably 20 years or more now. We love playing the Beacon at the end of the year. And then we go to Jamaica every January and do what we call Island Exodus.
Oh, yeah.
And then next year is the 30th anniversary of Gov't Mule's first album. So we have some special shows planned. We have some archival releases planned. It's going to be a big year.
Excellent. We'll look forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Billy. You're going
thank
to
you.
sign us off here? all right?
Yeah. Thanks, Warren. Big thanks to Warren Haynes, and be sure and check out his new solo album, the first one in 10 years, I think. Million Voices Whisper. It's amazing. Please like, share, and subscribe to My Backstage Pass on your favorite platform, and we'll see y'all next time.
Happy trails.
Happy trails. Oh, you beat me to it.